you're doing well. And now, if you don't mind, we're going to get to the news. The U.S. and Iran are reportedly close to negotiating a one-page deal to end the war. Okay, but still not short enough for this guy to read it. He's never even finished a haiku. President Trump hosted a Mother's Day event today at the White House. Of course, Mother's Day isn't until Sunday, but obviously he's golfing that day. During a military Mother's Day event today, President Trump claimed that the autocorrect feature on his phone used to change First Lady Melania Trump's name to Melanie until he had the Pentagon fix it. You went to the Pentagon for this? No wonder we're still at war. Everyone stop what you're doing. I can't turn off the flashlight feature. During an Oval Office signing ceremony yesterday with a group of school children, President Trump spoke about the Iranian regime killing protesters. Well, way to freak out the kids, as if they weren't already going to have nightmares. President Trump signed a proclamation yesterday restoring the presidential fitness test, and I don't know what the test entails, but count me out. All right, kid, put on your tightest jeans. Yeah, meet me out of the elliptical. President Trump said on Monday that he originally asked for the Lincoln Memorial reflecting pool to have a new lining that's the same color as his pools in Florida, but the contractor said, quote, "This isn't Florida, sir," which is a valid response to most of the things he does. When asked yesterday during a press briefing, what his DJ name is, Secretary of State Marco Rubio said, quote, "You're not ready for my DJ name." Well, based on how lame you are, I'm going to guess DJ Secretary of State Marco Rubio? Today was School Nurse Day. Celebrate by letting a nerd hide in your office. You know, Jenny wrote that, and they really, like, people reacted to it like it was a Mike Scollins joke, but a rare chiller from our writer Jenny Hagel. A man in England recently became the first person in the world to pull a car with his penis while on fire. So at least someone will finally have a good Jeopardy anecdote. That's right, a man in England recently pulled a car with his penis more than 131 feet while on fire. Let that be a lesson to everybody. Always renew your AAA membership. That's right, a man in England. So we're going to do 3. This is very exciting news, yeah. When comedy writers see news like this, they're like, thank you. That's right. A man in England recently became the first person in the world to pull a car with his penis while on fire to raise awareness for prostate cancer and inadvertently penis reattachment surgery. By the way, I love that we we buried it till the third joke that it was for charity. This poor guy, we're just making him sound like a lunatic who's doing it for fun. Although, is that really raising awareness? Like, you know, I didn't know anything about prostate cancer until I saw a dude on fire pulling a car with his. I was like, what's this about? He's like, get checked. And finally, according to the latest numbers, the average price of a gallon of gas has surpassed $4.50. At this point, it's actually cheaper to pull your car with your penis while you're on fire. That was a monologue, everybody. 4. The rule of 4. Got a great show for you tonight. You know her from SNL, Loot, and Bridesmaids. She's making her Broadway debut as Mary Todd Lincoln in Oh Mary. It's playing now at the Lansing Theater. One of the best there ever was our friend Maya Rudolph is on the show, everybody. Oh, my God. New York City is a buzz. It's a buzz with the fact that Maya is playing Mary on Broadway. You know him from The Many Saints of Newark and shows such as The Deuce and The Offer. He's currently starring in Daredevil Born Again, which is streaming now on Disney+. Michael Gandolfini is back on the show. So excited to see Michael and Maya. Before we get to all that, The Trump administration is now arguing that the war with Iran is over because it has a new name, but it might start again if Iran doesn't agree to what it's already agreed to, and the goal is to open the Strait of Hormuz, which was already open before the war started. For more on this, it's time for a closer look. From day one, almost everything about this war has been confusing and unclear. What are the objectives? How long will it take? Which country are we bombing?
He has the ability to come back and declare war and ask for Congress to declare war on Iraq.
Ooh, so close. So you were off by just one letter. Terrifying time to have a name one letter away from Iran. If you're watching this and your name is Ira, you better watch the out. Yeah, I've been guilty of some nuclear fusion. In the bedroom. Stop by if you ever want to enrich some uranium. Not that I want to be too hard on Mark Wayne Mullen for being one letter off. I've made that mistake many times. My wife's name is Alexi, and I can't tell you the number of times I've gotten in a fight with Alexa. Gotten so bad that now my Alexa and I are in couples therapy. I just feel like we don't communicate anymore. I try to connect with you, but you don't listen. Alexa, would you like to respond to that?
I'm sorry, I'm having trouble understanding. Please try again.
The point is, everything about this war has been unclear, except for one thing that everyone can agree on. It is not a war.
I wouldn't call this a war as much as I'd call it a conflict.
Strategic strikes are not war.
We are not at war. We have no intention of being at war.
Nobody should classify this as war. It is combat operations.
This isn't a war.
I don't know if this is technically a war.
So we are still at war with Iran.
I don't know what the definition of war is.
Oh, well, you're in luck, my man. I got it right here. It's a small, benign growth on the skin or mucous membrane. My bad. That's wart. Man, being one letter off really does make a difference. Here we go. It's a state of armed conflict between nations characterized by military operations. See, I don't need you, Alexa.
He does one thing for himself and now he wants a parade.
See, Dr. Henderson, this is the sort of hurtful language I've been talking about.
Oh, grow the up. I already have 3 kids, I don't need a 4th.
So Republicans are desperate to avoid calling the war with Iran a war, and as much as I'd love to prove them wrong, there is just no evidence that we are, in fact, in a war.
We're in a war.
Damn it! Come on, you guys. You gotta tell me in rehearsal if I'm sarcastically setting up a clip that's gonna prove the opposite of what I'm saying. What's that? There is no rehearsal? Then what have I been going to? Schmigadoon? All right. So I guess that means I won't have a song today. So Donald Trump called it a war one time. One time. It's a slip of the tongue, you monsters. Have you never said the wrong word one time? One time by, oh, there's a whole clip package. Well, just show it.
The stock market just now hit a new high during the war. During a war, we have the highest stock market. During a war, during a war, we have the highest stock market. We have unlimited middle and upper ammunition, which is really what we're using in this war. We may have casualties. That often happens in war. It's a war. The war with Iran. We have a war right now. We've totally won the war. I will say the war in Iran is going along swimmingly.
Now, for the first time, I think it might not be a war because wars don't go swimmingly. That's not how you describe a war. That's how you describe a garden party in the Cotswolds. You know, you just can't picture General George S. Patton saying, "Better put on your Speedos, boys, because this war is going swimmingly." But at some point, someone must have whispered in Trump's ear to stop calling the war he started without approval from Congress a war because that would be illegal. So he started using some other dumber euphemisms.
I saw what was happening in Iran, and I said, I hate to make this excursion. We had to take an excursion. This was an excursion. We took a little bit of a journey, a little bit of an excursion. I said, Susie, do you mind if I take a little excursion here? I didn't want to make that little journey to Iran. That was a journey. We have to make a journey down to Iran. We have to take a little journey down to a beautiful country known as Iran. We had to do a little journey down to Iran. We did an excursion. You know what an excursion is? We had to take a little trip.
We all know what an excursion is. Stop being dumb and also acting like you're a professor. Your vocabulary is only complicated to you. It's not like You're up there using obscure language. We're gonna break through the Strait of Hormuz like a bodkin. A bodkin, for those who don't know, it's a sharp, slender instrument for making holes in cloth. So now, we've all learned a new word thanks to me. Also, can we go back to this?
We had to do a little journey down to Iran.
Oh, you went down to Iran? Were they happy to see y'all? Does he think Iran is south of the U.S.? I just don't think of it as south because, you know, it's literally called the Middle East. So Trump called it a war, but then he stopped calling it a war when someone told him if it's a war, it's illegal, but sometimes he gets tripped up by his own bull. Here are 3 moments, only minutes apart.
I don't call it a war. Despite the fact that we are in what some people would call a war, the gas will go down. As soon as the war's over, it'll drop like a rock.
Is it possible your brain dropped like a rock while you were talking, like it shook loose from the brainstem and then just fell down your neck and into your belly like a stone falling into a well? Actually, you know what? If you listen back, I think you can actually hear that happening.
I don't call it a war. Despite the fact that we are in what some people would call a war, the gas will go down. As soon as the war's over, it'll drop like a rock.
And then a few days ago, Trump just gave the whole game away. If it's a war, it's illegal because he didn't get permission from Congress, so he just doesn't call it a war.
You know, they don't like the word war, and they call it a military operation because that way you don't have a war, you don't have legal problems.
You don't not break the law if you use different words for the illegal act. You can put the cuffs away, officer. My grandma wasn't murdered. She's just sleeping in a backyard dirt hole. In fact, we've now passed 60 days since the start of the war, and that's the deadline by which Trump is required to ask Congress for permission, which is why he's not calling it a war. But if it's not a war, then how do you explain this?
We begin with the U.S. and Iran exchanging fire in the Strait of Hormuz.
U.S. Central Command says that Tehran launched multiple cruise missiles, drones, and small boats. The U.S. says it's blown up at least 6 of those Iranian small boats.
Well, this sounds like the worst journey I've ever been on. And that includes last week when I was on a Spirit Airlines flight while Spirit shut down. The pilot got on the PA, said, "Peace out, bitches," and grabbed a parachute. So if we're firing shots at each other, but it's not a war, then what is it?
Our country's booming now, despite the fact that we're in I call it a mini war.
Aw. Oh, well, that's fun. It's a little mini war. It can't be illegal if it's just a little old thing. I call it World War .003. It's just a little, my beautiful little war. Now, of course, there's no such thing as a mini war, so now they're trying a new thing. The war can't be illegal because the war has a new name.
Yesterday, Secretary of State Marco Rubio declared an end to Operation Epic Fury, saying that the U.S. has achieved its objectives.
President Trump says the U.S. will begin escorting neutral ships through the Strait of Hormuz as soon as this morning. President calling the plan Project Freedom.
That's right. They're going from Operation Epic Fury to Project Freedom. They're just renaming it. They're treating the war like it's HBO. They went from HBO to HBO Go to HBO Now to HBO Max to Max back to HBO Max. Although if you ask me, a much simpler name would just be the one that has Game of Thrones. But before you get used to Project Freedom, just FYI, Trump has already paused it. So bad news for your MAGA-loving aunt who always buys the merch on day one, and good news for your woke nephew who loves giving her Oh, cool shirt, Aunt Jean. Shame that's already not a thing. You're not my blood. So they've gone from claiming there is no war to it is a war to it's a mini war to the war is over, but now there's a new wrinkle. The war might start again if Iran doesn't agree to a deal.
President Trump posted just moments ago, seeming to reference a potential deal. This is what he wrote, quote, "Assuming that Iran agrees to give what has been agreed to, which is perhaps a big assumption, the already legendary Epic Fury will be at an end, and the highly effective blockade will allow the Hormuz Strait to be open to all, including Iran. If they don't agree, the bombing starts, and it will be, sadly, at a much higher level and intensity than it was before."
Assuming Iran agrees to what has been agreed to, which is perhaps a big assumption. I mean, personally, I think the bigger assumption is assuming you know how your sentences are going to end when you start writing them. Like, do you think Iran knows what the you're talking about? How can you expect to get an outcome when no one knows what outcome you want? You're like a mugger who says, "Give me all your money, but keep your wallet, because I already have a wallet, which is full of money, so I don't need yours, but I'm still going to stick you with my bodkin." A bodkin can also be a thin blade that's easily concealed, so we're learning a lot of new words today. Trump can't hold one position for even a day. Just take this comment a few days ago when he addressed reporters on a possible deal with Iran.
They told me about the concept of the deal. They're going to give me the exact wording now.
Last night you said we might be better off not making a deal with Iran.
No, I wouldn't have to. I didn't say that.
And now, let me take you on a little journey, or perhaps an excursion, to one day earlier when he said the exact same thing he denied saying.
I'm so busy with the Iranians trying to make a good deal, and we're not going to let that happen. But they've got to make a bad deal. But if they make a deal at all, because frankly, maybe we're better off not making a deal at all. Do you want to know the truth? Because we can't let this thing go on.
When you say we can't let this thing go on, do you mean your answer to any question concerning Iran? And what do you mean you're so busy with Iranians calling you to make a deal? Are these real Iranians, or is it possible you're just getting prank calls? The Iranians are calling me all day. They want to make a deal, but they'll only make it with one man, our special representative for the Middle East, and they keep asking for him. They say his name is Seymour Wiener. So I say, hold on, and then I shout, we need to Seymour Wiener. Seymour Wiener, I need Seymour Wiener, but they're never there. He's never there. We can't find him. And then I hear laughing on the other end of the phone. And then I hear them say, you're on Morning Zoo with Jimmy and the Sharks. Say hello, Cleveland. And I say, hello, Cleveland. You have to help me find the Seymour Wieners guy. We're more than 2 months into the war. Trump's still trying to bullshit his way out of it. He created this mess. He can't escape. It's a departure from his campaign promises. And that's why there's been an evolution from war to excursion to
journey.
This has been A Closer Look.